Welcome back to Zero Camera Podcast.
Damn,
It's not
you
a
brought
beer. It's it's sparkling water.
I was like, oh man, I messed up. I didn't have the beer ready for this.
No, but
Should've.
my old beer drinking days, I felt like it was appropriate to give it a little stone cold open. Because
Yeah,
that is what we do here on this podcast is we give stone cold opens where I say stuff like, I really, really hate most of the car community. And I say that as somebody who is starting a podcast and doing a podcast in the car space. I kind of really don't like most of you. And that's probably not going to be good for followers, but maybe there's a big enough market out there of you guys that also kind of hate everything we're about to talk about.
Well, according to the comments that we got this past week, I would say from that, it also seems like a lot of other people hate the car community, which is something that I think we've picked up on, is the fact that like most car people hate the car community. But I also find this entertaining. In the flip side, is that one of the things that people seem to like the most about cars is the car community. So there's like a real bad case of like people who like really like the car community because of the community and then really hate the car community because of the community.
So I've been thinking a ton about this, and we have a list of topics we're going to get to today because we always do this, right? You guys think we just come in here off the cuff. We absolutely do not. We write out everything we're going to talk about beforehand because when we tried to do this off the cuff the first couple times, it was not very good.
Yeah. It turns out we are not that great at being off the cuff, which is ironic because now that we write out a whole notes thing and, you know, like a whole template for every episode, damn near, it turns out we actually just like yapping and then we don't ever get through all the topics anyways. So.
Yep. As long as we've got like a very vague outline, it's pretty good. Also, I sound like shit. I have literally been sick for a month. This is actually our first time recording in, I think, 3 weeks.
Yes, it is. It has been 3 weeks. And it is. Now we get raspy voice Mike and I'm sure the fucking never-ending beagle noise coming from outside as well. So
yep, and I'm going to be coughing.
It's going to be a great episode.
Yeah, I'm going to be coughing too because it still hasn't cleared my system yet. You're going to get some sometimes, and it's just going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. But guess what? That is sort of part of the car community.
Our audio-only enjoyers on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you're going to have wonderful ASMR this episode.
Damn it. All right. So I think you and I have a big overlap. It's like your first one and my second one.
Yes.
Right? And the way you worded it, I like better than the way I worded it. So I'm going to read yours verbatim. Social media forced a lot more attention on the scene, and it pushed too many new enthusiasts in, and the scene was always gatekept. I think that's spot on. Because what I said was something towards, like, pushed it really toxically towards crazy clout stuff. But I think that's actually I think what you're saying is actually the reason why what I'm saying happened. And that is, we kept out idiots.
Yeah, and so, like, prior, right, like, 2010, right, you know, I remember, like, you know, that's high school era, but, like, you're kind of, like, getting into cars, and, like, if, you know, 2010, 2012, somewhere in there, you know, when you're showing up at, you know, a meet at 16, you know, at this time, you know, you were, like, you didn't really, like, know where to go. Like, meets weren't, like, this, like, crazy thing that took place in every parking lot. Or, like, you would just, like, kind of stumble across somebody, like, like, a Sonic. Or, like, you know, we had, like...
I was going to say Sonic.
It was Sonic. It was, like, the old, like, there, like, on Telegraph here, we have, like, the 50s McDonald's. That was a huge hangout spot.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about that.
For years, it was a big hangout spot until they, like, redid it.
Fuckers.
Or, like, you know, you'd go to, like, Woodward, like, it's like a place where, like, people kind of cruise and hang out. And, like, you would go there, you'd cruise around, and then, like, you'd find, like, a gas station or several, like, people pulled off on the side and, like, they had cool cars. And then you'd stop and talk to these people. And, like, this is kind of how you, like, made friends, right?
And that's a big point that you're making right there because that's, right, you're talking pre-social media. If you're listening to this podcast, there's actually a fairly decent chance that you don't that you do remember before social media.
Yeah,
But if you
probably.
don't, yes, actually, to find stuff, you had to just talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you became mutuals and then you looked and searched for the Instagram page for the local car scene and then and then found out where the Cars and Coffee was and when no.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Well, and also
you just had to meet people, and getting to the gatekeeping thing.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't like you, you wouldn't get invited to stuff. So if you were a tool, if you were an idiot, you wouldn't get invited places because people thought you sucked.
Yep.
And you probably ended up driving a Honda.
Honda dudes were a different type of dude back in the day. Now it's Mopar guys for the most part.
Now it's I mean, I was a VW guy. I'm poking fun at you, right? So
yeah, listen, it's fair. But you did have your clicks, right? Like Volkswagen guys kind of hung out with Volkswagen guys because if you guys went you had stuff like H2OI back in the day was like a Volkswagen Eurocentric event. And so you had stuff like that, like Nopi Nationals or Import Alliance, things like that. Import guys went to Import Alliance and you didn't see Mustangs at Import Alliance. You didn't see stuff like that. You didn't see a slammed vet at Nopi National that. No. That's not what you found there.
And that was for me, right? Because I was a VW guy. All I really knew was H2I, Werther C, right? Maybe a little Slammed Enough, and that started.
Yeah, because that was right when that started, kind of popping off
a little bit. Yeah, but that was kind of it. And then it was regional.
Yeah,
you didn't really have a ton of Honda guys, because I went to school up in Flint area, and so you didn't have Honda wasn't as big up in that area. And I don't know if you've been up there too much because you're more southern Detroit area. That's the VW scene right up there. So
and
if you got
Detroit,
into cars in that area, you got into VWs because that's who your friends were.
And Detroit had some VW scene, but if you were South Detroit, that was Hondas, it was Mustangs, it was Camaros. You were either building full on drag cars, even if you're a Honda, you're still probably building a drag car. Yeah. I still know plenty of people to this day that's what they do. They have Honda drag cars. And because that has always been a big scene here in Detroit.
Honda drag stuff on it. Yeah. I mean, I've always, that's kind of where I've seen it. VW was that's the slam scene, the stance scene, the cruise scene, right? That was a totally different.
And of course, there was overlap. And I think what a cool thing that social media has contributed to the car community is the fact that it kind of started now, the reason you see something like a Mustang or a Corvette at Import Alliance or Nopi Nationals as a stance car is because of how much overlap social media has created where people in different communities now interact. Because before, if you weren't if you weren't into drag racing and you weren't at the drag strip, you did not do drag stuff. Nobody, you weren't just being exposed to it. Where nowadays, everybody's trying to go fast, right? You have, whether you have people roll racing their BMWs and they're posting 60 to 130 times or whatever.
Everything is about horsepower.
Highway poles. See, actually, I disagree with that.
Well, I mean, I feel social media, I see everything is about horsepower.
I think people have this perception because that, everything is a high horsepower car. Everything's a big. Well, guys, in 2010, 300 horsepower was a lot. A factory car.
That's a fair point. Yeah,
had 300 horsepower. In 2025, there's factory cars with 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower in the new Vet. So
that could explain some of how it feels like it to me.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are taking it as oh man, everything's about horsepower, and it's bro, if you buy a stock GT500, it just makes 700. If you buy a Hellcat, it makes 700. These dudes are they're putting E85 and a pulley on their car, and it makes 900. So it sounds
it's probably the same as you had a Mustang, a dude in a New Edge threw cams on it, and
exactly. You threw a bunch of bolt ends and a supercharger on that, and you made 500, and you were big dicking if you made 500-600 horse in 2010.
I love that saying.
So it's evolved but everything has evolved. Like the whole market has moved with it, and we're going to talk more about like the industry later.
Yeah,
we focus
we have
more on like
we're recording 2 tonight because that's kind of what we're trying to move to is recording 2
Yes.
shorter ones. We are gonna later cut it, move to another one. We're gonna talk about like the auto industry. Right now, we're just talking about you assholes.
yeah. Right now we're talking about like the car community as a whole and how it interacts with individuals.
Yes.
And I think like people, I think for one, there's a lot of people in the scene now who have been caught by the social media funnel that have
Yes.
been brought into the car community, and then the gate's no longer there. Like we just shove everybody in, but there's nowhere. Like people don't find their niche anymore. Like you don't just
They
end
just-
up in like, oh, I'm not. I didn't come in as a drag guy because I got exposed to that. I came
No.
in because cars as a whole has funneled me into this, and now
Yeah.
everybody's here at the neck of the funnel, and they're not getting sorted into the right bin,
Yep.
right?
And
So like,
that's why everything is moved to. I think that's why everything is moved to drift, because drift
Yes.
is the meta right now.
right, it's the most popular form of
Yeah.
motorsport
And,
at this current moment.
Like for anybody that plays video games at all, right? If you played any type of online video game, you know how it is. There is something right now that, based on the rules of the game, and the game in this case being social media and clout, this becomes the best one.
Yeah.
You know, when I was I'm dating myself, when I was in high school, I played World of Warcraft. I was a raid healer in World of Warcraft, right? I played a freaking druid raid healer in Wrath of the Lich King. I was not the fucking meta. The meta was
Yeah.
a priest. I tried to play an arms warrior in Burning Crusade as a DPS, right? I was not the meta. I didn't get invited to stuff. I'm used to not being invited to stuff. So that's why I found the Volkswagen community, because that's the misfit community. But social media's got rid of the misfit communities. They're so small. They're so hard to find. So unless you're physically out there actually getting into the weeds and meeting people and kind of finding niches,
Yep.
you're not seeing that. Everything is just moved to what gets clicks, what gets attention, and drifting on a camera looks cool. It looks cool
100%.
and it looks fun, and it's not as expensive to get into.
No,
So
because
everything's kind of shifted that way because it's easier for newer creators and smaller creators, people that want to get on social media and get big numbers. They can go drift. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
100%, yeah, and like you said, entering into the drift scene, right, or like that right now being the biggest basket under the funnel here is catching the most people's attention because, like you said, you know, watching drifting is more entertaining than watching drag racing. Especially if you don't know anything about drag racing. If you've never drag raced, of course, like drag racing looks boring and stupid because it's like, oh, well, you just line up and just fucking hit
And
the
so
gas.
and
that's
so
all you
does
have to
road
do.
racing, right?
Yeah,
Like, let's be
exactly.
honest, right? Watching like
Oh yeah, if you
Nürburgring
watch,
runs is kind of boring.
yeah, and like the only way any like even like circuit racing, anything like that, even looks entertaining is like in car footage. Because if you
Yeah.
just like watch like a pan view of the track and you just see like, you know, dudes circle around it, it's like it looks slow, it looks boring. You're like, okay,
so
like
I've got footage when Jordan shitbox because I edit for people to know I did some of his videos. I edited some of his videos. I've got this one. He never released it. He went to, I think it was Indianapolis, right? And he met Brad. I can't remember his name. Right, but he met one of the drivers and he took some video of the cars going around the track. But, you know, of course, he's not a motorsports camera guy. So, like, he just kind of had him from, like, the seats he was in.
Yep.
And I just told him, he's like, I want to get some of this, and then I want to mix in some of the footage. And I remember messaging him, I'm like, dude, we can't do it. We can't make a good video with this footage because everything looks slow as dirt.
Yeah.
So, seriously, like, if you ever just see
if you speed it up,
non-professionally
it
shot
looks-
footage,
Yeah.
it looks
If you
crappy.
Yeah, like there's no way to like make it look good, and this is why track footage does terrible. Like you will see every YouTuber in this space, in the automotive space here, will tell you like, oh, my track footage gets less views than like the on car, like the like the build footage, right? Because it's not as exciting. You can make build footage look exciting because it's a bunch of B-roll, it's a bunch of like you're flopping it out. That looks exciting and it feels like there's a lot going on, especially when a bunch of big numbered parts are getting
Yes.
slapped on a car and this
Yes.
and that, right? You're like, oh wow, this guy spent 10 grand and he in 10 minutes he bolted everything to the car and holy shit, like it looks totally different.
Yeah.
Like that looks exciting versus like, like it looks. It doesn't feel like anything spectacular is happening.
No.
In the car, shit's going crazy.
and
Like,
What's
but
crazy?
you can't capture that on film.
No. Well, and what's crazy is, right, so I remember, because I watched it last year, Alex Martinez on his Alex Martini channel, because the dude has like 7 channels, right? So it's hard to remember which channel it's on.
Mhm.
He did his video, I think his first video when they tried to take the Time Attack S2000 out.
Uh-huh.
And it had a thermal event. Industry insider language for it caught on fire. And it, like, the fire suppression system didn't go. Like,
Yep.
and so that was like a big high drama video. And I remember him talking about it on the podcast after. Maybe that's caught up from now, but I remember him talking on the podcast after, and he was like, yeah, that video did like nothing.
Yeah.
He's like, it didn't do anything. And it was like, we're talking high drama track footage video, right? Track footage and everything. Super high drama. People still didn't care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, I remember seeing clips of, like, Adam LZ talking about, like, when his GT350 caught on fire and stuff like that. Or, like, like, other, like, cars, like, like, his track footage. Like, he's even said, like, his normal, like, even just, like, event coverage. There's a reason why he puts together, like, an hour-long, like, event video now instead of putting together, like, a dozen little vlogs, like, for each day of it. Because it's not worth putting that much time into...
No.
Setting up all of these different videos because it's not going to net the same views like just putting an event video together does. And like that's why the YouTube meta is pretty much always falls into, well, I hate everybody just buys a car, slaps a bunch of parts on, because that's what clicks. Like people click for that. They don't watch track footage.
I don't know if they were the first ones to do it, but Throttle were fucking brilliant for doing that. I think they were like kind of the first big guys in the like build a car, give it away scene.
Yeah, I think so. Or I mean, and like you did have like some other like stuff pop off pretty good, like B is for build, like with the salvage stuff, or is like, like that caught on pretty quick and pretty good. But yeah, like there's the track footage stuff has like never gotten the same degree of attention.
Well, and real build like, stuff, like fab stuff, doesn't do very well either. No. Bolt-on stuff does. Because, like, if you watch, like, I think it was the Donut. I think it was when they were still with Donut, right? Like, Pumphrey and all those guys, and they did the E30, like, big switch. That video was actually a pretty good video, like, I'm not going to lie. But it was mostly bolt-ons, right? It was like, we got wheels, we got suspension, we got, it's not fab. It's not,
well,
like,
I think that's why, like, their high-low videos, like, do fairly well. Because, like, you got 2 cars getting a bunch of shit bolted on. And, like, it just feels like so much is happening because you're seeing so much change every episode.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think what we're kind of getting to say here is the people of you guys that out there that watch these videos, like the vast, vast majority of you don't actually like cars.
Yeah. No, I think for the most part, right? And I feel like this is a part of an overarching problem that extends far beyond cars. And that's the fact that, like, hobbies don't exist anymore. Most people don't just, like, have a hobby that they, like, just do for funsies. Like, now everybody is trying to, like, hustle everything. Like, everything is, how can I turn this into a business? How can I turn this into views? How can I turn this into some kind of more elaborate part of my life, because, and I think part of this is also due to the fact that, like, just overarching, economical issues in this country have led to this, where people are like, oh, well, I need to make more money. So how can I take something I enjoy doing so I don't get burnt out on, so I can actually do it, something I know, how can I make money from that? And so I think this is kind of shit falling downhill here, where, like, people have gotten into it. And so, like, people have shown an interest in cars. And then they've like, okay, well, hey, if I'm interested in cars, I can work on cars, or I can detail cars, or I can, because there's the auto industry is huge, right? Like, there's so many facets.
There's so much.
Like, I don't think people really realize the scope of the automotive industry. Like, you could be on 2 ends of it and you'd never touch the other side. You never touch the middle.
You and me, man. Like, we're probably less degrees of separation than some people in terms of
Yeah.
what we do for our day jobs, and yet
Yeah, like,
still I
to
would
some-
never be hired to step into the same type of role that you do. Never.
And the same degree, like nobody at a tire company that you work for would bring me on to do any type of simulation thing. Like even though like what like dude, like you do not have the skills for that.
No.
So like just like like you're probably not getting into some kind of testing without some level of difficulty or getting into just like you're not walking into a shop without like you'd start
Yeah.
at the bottom if you wanted to do
Mhm.
that, right?
There's so
wouldn't
many
make any sense.
facets. Yeah, there's
So-
so many facets of it.
I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, like I like cars, right? Because a lot of people
Mhm.
do like cars, and like I think
Yeah.
what you see, or a big thing about that, right? And maybe I think we see it a little bit differently, especially coming from like Michigan or like me, being like in Detroit, right? Is that like since this is the Motor City, everybody here has an appreciation of cars, and like most people, like older people, right, or like people in general, might not be like, oh, I'm a car enthusiast, but they like cars.
They have
like,
some.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
they can
dad had
appreciate a cool car.
right. Like my dad had a classic restored Nova, and it was awesome. But
Yeah.
that person isn't into cars. They just might know a couple of things about it, or like
Yeah.
it's like slightly interested by the idea, or like, oh, like I inherited this, or whatever the
And
situation
that's
might
like
be.
my wife is an example, right? She does not give a flying shit about cars, like not in the way that I do.
Right.
But she loves our Mini. She thinks that she likes driving it. We like I told you, we were at Aldi that day, and she was like, "Man, I wish you shouldn't have kept the LS400. You should get an E36," because she saw an E36 that she liked and she thought it was a cool car. She didn't know anything. She doesn't know what's under the hood. She doesn't know if it comes in manual or an automatic. She doesn't know that it's rear wheel drive. She barely even knows it's a BMW.
She looks at it and says, I like the way that looks.
Yes.
And that's a lot of people.
Yes.
And on top of that, I feel like there's so many people that have entered the scene where they are looking at stuff and they're like, oh, I like that. Like, it looks nice. It looks
Mhm.
cool. These are people who will never visit a track. These are people who will never spend money on parts. They aren't supporting the aftermarket. Like, they're
No.
not calling up. They might like a Subaru. They might go buy a Subaru, right? Like, they might go buy a WRX because a WRX is a solid car for somebody to just get into who's like, I want to drive something that's kind of fun, kind of sporty. But they're not going to call up IAG and get a built block. Like,
No.
they're not gonna call up any number. Like, they don't want an exhaust.
No,
They
they'll
don't like,
probably
oh,
drive that WRX until they blow the head gaskets, and then they'll sell it, and then they'll go buy a Camry.
Yeah, they get something like, oh yeah, I had one of those. Like, I like that car so much, but it just had so many problems.
Well, and
Things like that.
like also not forget though too that a lot of us kind of started there.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Because I embarrassingly, I have this memory, right, of being a young car guy and trying to be cool with the other car guys that had actually been in this for a while. And when I say young, I was an adult technically.
but you're
right, I hadn't been
college
into
age,
cars.
high school age. Yeah.
I hadn't been into cars that long. Like, I didn't get into cars until I was an adult, right?
Yep.
And that's just by proximity to people. But I remember thinking the WRX was the coolest car. It was super quick and super fast. And all-wheel drive was amazing. And I didn't know shit. I didn't know anything. And I said stupid stuff, right? And you say stupid things when you're a young car guy.
Especially when you don't know what,
you don't know what you're
don't
talking
have the
about.
knowledge to back up anything that's being said.
And now, in those smaller communities, right, it was usually you had the young guys and you had the older guys. Because I remember, right, forums. Anybody who remembers forums were toxic as hell.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But those mean bastards, they kept the idiots out.
Yes.
And
Because
that's
if
you
you
were
went on
saying
a forum-
gatekeeping.
Yes, and so let's say you got into car audio, right? And you
Mhm.
started talking about you were talking about something crazy, right? Some fucking silly shit. Well, somebody who was really into car audio on that forum would see you make your post because you didn't search, and then they'd be like, "Listen here, asshole. That's not what we do. You're not
Mhm.
going to do something that fucking stupid. And if you're going to do something that fucking stupid, we're going to shame you for it every single post." And they would do it. You'd have people on every person's replies be like, "No, that's fucking stupid. That's fucking ass. Why would you do this? Why would you do that?"
Yep.
And
the people that were thin-skinned that didn't really love cars would walk away. They'd go, "I don't want to be a part of this."
Yeah.
Because the entry cost was high.
Yes.
Now the entry cost is low and you have a lot of glazers and people that are surrounding you and they're just kind of keeping you there even though you don't really belong. And if you really, really loved cars in the forum days, you'd stick around. You would.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wasn't a big forum poster. I took a different path into cars, and kind of did some stuff, and I did a lot of stupid stuff, and, but I wasn't, I almost was pushed away by those people, but I was like on that cusp of liking cars enough and having proximity enough to cars that I stuck around.
Yeah.
And now I'm a lot older and a lot wiser, and I see the young kids now, like, cause right.
Well, and I was gonna say on the same front, right? And I think this is where you're about to be going, is like on a forum, while you did have those assholes, if you were thick enough skin to get past the hazing that you would get on a forum, or like if you were actually willing to like shove your pride down your throat a little bit and listen to what people were saying, then people would be like they would be genuinely helpful. Like the only reason people were like and back then there wasn't a TikTok video that would explain in 30 seconds that like, oh yeah, you can actually take off this upper intake bracket on your B series on your Integra to pull the alternator out instead of having to drop the axle, right?
No.
Like you had to know a dude who knew that to find that out. Or like you'd have to read about it on a forum where like somebody was like, oh, I just tried this and it worked.
Or you were just one of those mechanically minded people that was able to just look at something and go like, that might work and do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's few and far between.
Yeah. And so most people kind of just don't figure out the tricks and stuff like that. And that's kind of like, even like what I was talking about earlier, right? Like there's such a small part of the community. And most of the time it's shops, despite everybody being like, oh, I need to build something. And like, if you don't build it yourself, shops in the aftermarket are the only reason anything advances.
Yes.
Shops are the ones that do all of the R&D. They take all of the load. They figure nearly everything out. 95% of everything in the automotive aftermarket is solved by shops. It's not Bob in his backyard who's like, I wanted to put this in here, and so I just did. Most of those people, I wanted to just do this, and it's a kit that was available. Like, oh, I stuck an LS and an FRS. Well, yeah, you and 35 other people after they started printing motor mounts.
FRS swap kit that was developed by some shop.
Exactly. Like, yes, you might have some people who are like running a shop out of their garage or something like that, but that's still inclusive in the fact of like most normal people don't just throw some bullshit together and figure it out.
It is still a business that has been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, and like most people, and another thing that I think the funnel has kind of misinterpreted through social media is that like a lot of people now think you're just going to like step it. Like your first build is not going to be a swap. You don't need to swap every chassis either.
No.
Like that stuff is cool. It's fine. It's great. But like,
honestly, what killed my first build was not the swap. It was putting the interior back in. No, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, and like, there was stupid little shit like that, right? That would be a whole, especially like if you weren't wrenching on everything, if you didn't have a garage full of tools to, at your disposal or like things like that.
Or it was built in the 90s and there was only 3,000 units sold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't find a fucking rear quarter window. Yeah.
Yeah. Things like that are going to be a problem. Yep. And like, if you don't have the ingenuity to either solve or fix that, or
you don't have the fab tools to fix that, or right? Like there's only so much you can do sometimes if you aren't willing to invest a lot into tools or take it to a shop.
So things like that have kind of, all the funnel has just thrown everything around. Yeah. And now that you have so many people who don't know kind of really like where they're supposed to be, you have so many different things all vying for your attention, right? And you get the people who come in to the scene and like they have an interest in cars, and then they're they want to go out and they post something or whatever. Like maybe there's a bunch of other people who are kind of in the same position as them. So when they post something and it gets a few likes or whatever, that kind of starts turning gears. They're like, oh man, like I feel like I'm doing something. I feel like I'm a part of this because
I've got an example. I've got an example. Somebody we know from Twitter. He's a let's call him a fairly major automotive Twitter creator. His whole thing is that he comments on things he doesn't like and that he posts stuff he finds on Marketplace. Not to crap on the guy, because like we both know him, he's a decent guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't own an enthusiast car. He owned one enthusiast car and it was clapped and crappy. Right? Like, so the person you're listening to, the person that like just finds the way to like bring the energy to themselves by talking in a way that other people, maybe the most common denominator in this space, likes to talk, might not even know anything.
Well, and there's a point
like, no
too,
shade
right?
to him. I want to be clear because he might listen to this. No shade, dude. I just like,
yeah. Well, and so like there's also a
he
point
admits
too
his
where
own
like
followers suck.
there's also a point where like the funnel like tapers in so deep, right? Where like that funnel works in reverse. So the more niche you become, right? The more like you, for instance, right? Like you're very good with tires. Like that
I'm
is
niche
your
to the
whole
point
thing.
there's nobody on social media that like
But like
caters to me.
right, and we talked about this not I think just a couple weeks ago where like it was like you're like, yeah, like I remember like getting into this and I wanted to talk about cars and I want to talk about tires with people, but nobody here talks about tires the way that I talk about and understand tires. And like I consider myself, for a normal person, very well versed in tires, but like
you can't get that
like,
deep.
But like I'm not that, and like because like if I went that deep into everything, right? Like if I went that deep into everything else I know, then I've
tried. I just feel like an idiot all the time.
But so like, seeing, like that on the flip side, like how do you make the funnel, like your funnel is flipped the other way, right? So like there's such a narrow opening to get into something as niche as that. And there's so many things along, all of these different areas of the car community and of the car scene that like have these very narrow funnels at the bottom. And so like most people don't get that deep. They never make it that deep.
Well, and realistically, if you want a big following, you have to stay at the top of the funnel.
Right.
Because that's where the most people are.
Exactly.
So
like that's the people who are like, of course, all the stupid bait accounts that are like, I post the all black Mercedes on the like, oh, it's this really nice Mercedes, S-Class, and it's just all blacked out, and like the picture looks, good.
Really good.
Of course,
like
that's
realistically, what you're appealing to is not car people. You get a small subset of car people, but what you actually get is like, let's say, for example, in the
car appreciators.
Car appreciators, but you're getting rap enthusiasts, right?
Yeah.
You're getting like, because you're starting to pull into other subcultures, because we understand that other subcultures have an appreciation or a draw to different parts of cars. Yeah. If you're posting, like, if you post Mustangs and Corvettes that are drag builds, or right, just like old clean like Gen 1 Mustangs and stuff, you probably could get a pretty good overlap with like boomer bait type people, right? Guys who go on Facebook and post about like every other post is like about the troops or like share for God or something like that, right? Like
or
that's
that,
part
like,
of your audience.
EFI is a sin.
Yeah, like that is not what 90% of what probably not even 99% of what they talk about is cars.
Yeah.
Right? 99% of what they talk about is like their daily life and probably taking their kids to soccer practice.
Yeah,
and same with the rap. Like their 99% of what they talk about is probably like, I don't know, the new Logic. I don't listen to rap. Logic album or some shit. I don't know. Right? That's probably what they're talking about, but you're getting into that, and that's a much bigger space because, and I think this kind of gets to one of your points, enthusiasts are overestimating their place in the market.
Yes. And we see this all the time.
We are such a small number.
Yeah, like, and you can really see this across like sales numbers is a fantastic place to look at this. Yeah. Where like I don't think people realize, like I was just having a discussion with some coworkers like just a couple days ago, and like the F-150 in 23, 24, something, one of the last couple of years here.
400,000 units or something?
No, it's like 700 something thousand units. Like we're
What was
talking
400?
almost 750,000 units.
Something sold 400 that I was looking at recently. Damn it! Now I'm gonna have to look.
And
that up.
like people are like, oh man, like, the Supra selling well. And like, guys, like the best year of Supra sales is like 9,000 units in a year. Like,
Yeah.
and granted, like obviously there's a whole different use case for an F-150 than a Supra. And I'm not trying to compare those
No.
in any metric
But
other
there's
than the fact
just
that like
a lot less people that
they're
are
like,
gonna buy.
exactly. So like 9,000 people spent the money on a Supra versus spending that same $60,000 on an F-150. So it's not about the price, it's about the use case. And it's that most people don't actually care. People look at a Supra and they think, wow, a Supra's cool. And Supras or Mustangs or all of these, fancy cars, a GTD, the Ford GT, that car is to do two things.
Mhm.
One, meet some type of motorsports requirement so that way they can basically farm marketing.
Yeah.
And B, act as a loss lead, because when you get excited about a Mustang, when you get excited about a GTD and how cool a GTD is or how
You
cool
might
a
go
vet
buy
is,
an F-150 or an
when
Escape.
when you're actually at the table and you're like, wow, I can't afford to spend 60 grand on a Dark Horse. Well, maybe you can spend 30 grand on a EcoBoost Mustang. Maybe you can spend 30 grand on that Escape or a Fusion or whatever that car might have been for you, where like you're like, okay, this fits my needs, and I like Ford as a brand, or I like Toyota as a brand because they make X cool car, and I like X cool car.
And you want to aspire to have an X cool car later. Like, and so I like, as an example, right? I liked the WRX when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Growing up, my first car I took to college was a Forester because that's what suited my need. WRX was out of my price range. It didn't suit my need. I got a Forester.
Yeah.
So to reinforce your point, I just did a quick car and driver search on like we'll just go with its top 25. Let's just go like the top 5 for people to get a reference.
Yep.
Best selling cars of 2025 so far. And this also explains where I got the $400,000 number from. Number 1, Ford F-Series, $399,819. 400,000 F-150s or F-Series this year so far.
Guys, mind you, it's August.
Number 2, Silverado at 283. Number 3, RAV4 at 239. Number 4, CRV at 212. And number 5, Ram pickup at 175.
Oh, wow. Who would have guessed?
3 trucks. Yeah. Oh, and but keep in mind, this is one of the reasons why Ford gets they're able to say the F-Series is the best selling truck, is because they don't have Silverado Sierra.
Yes.
That's one of the big things that happens, right? Because GM actually gets fairly good sales on the GMC numbers.
Yeah. And
if you combine them, they're usually at or better than Ford. That's something that I learned. Oh, and then number 6, GMC Sierra. What do you freaking know?
Yeah. Exactly.
And then it's going down the list, right? It's like it's Camry, then a Model Y, then a Tacoma, then an Equinox, then a Civic, then a Corolla, then a Trax, then a Tucson, then and so like you guys look at this, like you notice the trend, right?
Yeah.
Truck, really good crossover, truck, really good car.
Now let me ask,
electric car, truck. And then budget. It's budget all the way down until you get to big 3-row SUVs.
Yep. And then let me ask, is anywhere on that top 25 a sports car or an enthusiast car? Because I'd be willing to bet no.
Okay.
Maybe.
Hold on. Okay. I'm going to enrage a couple, not even close. I'm going to enrage a couple people doing this. There is what I would consider 2 enthusiast cars on here.
Okay.
But they are enthusiast insofar as the fact that what actual enthusiasts are versus what like we consider an enthusiast.
Mm-hmm.
One is the Jeep Wrangler. It's number 22, sold 885,000 units. A Wrangler is an enthusiast car. I know it generally gets driven through malls. I know it's generally, but it is an enthusiast
But yeah,
car.
it does carry the same, like, tend to modification and, like, community that, like, does, like, you buy a Wrangler for a purpose more often than not.
a Wrangler, it's just like buying a base model Mustang GT, right? Like
Yes,
it's the
100%.
same thing because it is a car that is very in its segment of what it is intended to do, which is off-road. It is the most capable. It is the best at what it does. I'm stretching the definition of enthusiast a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
But number 25 is the Tesla Model 3. I'm sorry, Tesla enthusiasts, despite what my tweet said, Tesla enthusiasts are car enthusiasts. They're a weird new type of car enthusiast that I don't totally understand, but they are a car enthusiast.
Yes.
They're just a car tech enthusiast.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to make that differentiation.
And if you're buying a Model 3 over a Model Y, you're probably more of a car enthusiast than you. Like, a Model Y is an appliance, the same way I'd consider a RAV4 an appliance, right?
Yeah.
But a Model 3, you chose to drive a car in the year 2025.
Yeah.
This is like one of 3 cars on the whole list. There's a reason they bought a car.
Yes. Yeah, and I think a lot of those people are, and you'll even hear like, oh, like actually, like I have fun driving my Tesla, stuff like that. So like clearly there is an element of like the fun behind driving that you are looking for. And like if you get it from an EV and you don't get it from something else, either A, you probably haven't been in like other things that would actually give you some level of excitement for that.
Yes.
And then also B, this comes back to very top in the funnel where you are interested in cars, you have an appreciation of cars, but you are not I'm going to be at the racetrack sleeping outside in my trailer because I love cars. Like
who's the guy that does Street Alpha? Hold on. Who's the guy that does Street Alpha? Can you remember his name? Huh? Tukes. I think it was him. No, it wasn't Street Alpha. It was I don't remember if it's Street Alpha or Circle Drift, right? It was one of the two guys. I think it might have been Circle Drift actually. Alex Martinez asked him, and I saw a short. Alex Martinez asked him, what do you think is going to be the next platform for drifting? And he said Model 3.
I could see it coming. I could see it making a come up, especially like the used models. Like I think they are pretty cheap. Like if you get like the earlier Model 3s,
they're dirt cheap.
They're yeah. I think you can get them for like nothing.
Yeah. So it's like, because we're coming up on our 45 minutes, right? So like I kind of want to wind things down. Maybe the way to summarize this is like,
well, I think so. Your last 2 points, I was gonna say your last 2 points that you have to me kind of blend together, and I think are kind of like one and the same to some degree, and I think we both can also say that like this affects us where the point at which like we've kind of grown up, right? Like we're not in high school, we're not in college anymore. Like we're at a point where like there's some level of career, like I'm focusing on businesses right now. You're focusing on like, your career, you have a family. So like you don't have the time to go and spend like, track camping at Grid Life Festival events and like doing all this stuff that like you'd want to go do.
That part of it is kind of a single man sport, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and so like, I don't have the time to do it. As much as I would love to go and sit there and camp trackside, like even like, this year, right, I've been debating like about going down to Gatlinburg. I've been debating about going to several events. Yeah. And I'm like, I might just cancel these so I can focus on these other things I need to worry about because like I don't really have time to go and do this. Like even PRI or SEMA or like other things, it's like, dude, it's like between the cost of doing it and the cost of going out there and the cost to my time, it's hard to justify spending that to go to an event for something associated with just cars. Whereas as I've gotten older, I've started to really feel like, you know what, like this isn't as major a point in my life or a major of a thing in my life as it once was, which is fine. Like that is just a thing. Like
there's other stuff I like to do with my time.
Yeah. And
I've got my kids signed up for soccer. I play video games. I mean, obviously I do this, I do cars, but I do cars 8 hours a day, man. Yeah. That's what I do for my day job. I design tires for cars.
And I guess this is kind of even like a good point at which we can kind of lead into something that
what
we
the next
discussed.
episode's going to be.
Right. Well, that. But before we even get into like
Okay, yeah.
the industry side of things, just
Yeah.
something that like we've discussed, right, is like the burnout from cars to some degree, and I
Oh
think
my
a lot of
god.
people
Yeah.
who are deeper into cars are kind of experiencing this because everything feels so muddled these days. Like
It's awful.
everybody's going faster than you, everybody's building something faster than you,
Hmm.
everybody is like stuff is happening at a faster rate than you can produce. There's content going crazy. Everybody's making content.
Hmm.
Everybody's doing something, and it just feels like too much.
It's too
And
much.
like you were saying,
Yeah.
you already do cars 8 hours a day. I literally wake up somewhere between 5:30 in the morning, usually, maybe a little later, 6, and it's go to work, and it's deal with testing for 10-12 hours, and
Yep.
then it's go to get home and then film an episode for this, and then when I'm done doing this, it's research, or I might be answering invoices or emails about,
Yeah,
some
because
parts or something
you have
like
a
that.
side business. People
And
don't
then,
realize this. Like you have a whole second. You have a full-time job and a business, and you do this.
yeah. Well, and I mean, like, I really scaled back parts, but like, no, we're also running a shop. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm answering customers, I'm doing this. And so, like, until 2 o'clock in the morning, when I finally, like, sit down and, like, I'm like, okay, I'm like fried from cars.
Yeah.
Like I have, and like, mind you, in between all of this, on like the few hours, like on like the days I don't come and record this, or the days that I get out of the shop a little
Yeah.
earlier or something like that, I come home and then start turning wrench on one of the half a dozen cars that's in
Yep.
the backyard or in the garage. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, no, like actually, I would rather come home and then just like sit down and
Like
grab my burrito and like
and like
watch anime,
yeah,
or
like
and
watch the new episode of One Piece or start a new show or play a video game. Because I remember I
exactly.
texted you a couple weeks ago and I was like, you got to promise me that you're gonna start doing other stuff.
Yeah, well, and
Because
like
I want to talk about other stuff that's not
well,
just
and
cars, man.
something like, I mean, because you've been on me about like starting the Trails games and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and like, dude, it's so hard to even pick up the controller, and like every time I pick up the controller, I like immediately it's just like, yeah, like on the PlayStation, it's like, yeah, just throw Crunchyroll on, and like, because I can just like do that, and I can like sit down and be like, okay, like I'm
With
gonna
me
just
being sick the last few weeks, I've not been playing a ton of like especially hard stuff, right? Because you know me, I played the entirety of Final Fantasy VII Remake and then jumped straight into Rebirth, and I'm all the way at like the last 3 chapters of Rebirth, and I
yeah,
dropped it when I got sick and I haven't touched it in a month, right? Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
get
which
it.
yeah, yeah, and I know like that's a long haul, like that's like a good 100 hours of gameplay right there,
Yeah,
and you still got like 20, 30 to go. So
yeah,
like, like
and
that's
and that's what I mean, kind of like when I say like that was part of what I was getting at when I say I grew up. Like I recognize I don't like the car community right now, and I know social media is a big aspect of that, and I know, but I also recognize that part of it is I am getting exposed to people I just don't relate to anymore.
yes,
And I've got some good friends in this community. I got you, Bailey, Matt, Jordan. But the reality is, I'm the only one of all of us that has kids, that has a family. I
yeah.
think I'm actually the only one. No,
Well,
one other person has a wife, right? But like everybody else is. And so they go and they do this stuff. You guys go to events, you do these things, but it's because you have the extra time to do so.
yeah,
My coworkers that might be into cars, this is something that they partake in once a month, because they've got wives, they've got kids, they've got families, they've got things that are going on. And so for them, going and enjoying a car might be like, hey, I bought an S2000 and I drive it to work sometimes.
yeah. Like like
Or,
every other Friday, I take it to work if it's nice out, and like
yeah, or
during the
like I
summer,
went to Cars and Coffee this weekend and now
yeah,
now I might go next month. That's what the car community is a lot of times. And then the other part of it, like what they are, the side that you don't see on social media, and this is where the Tesla enthusiasts are, right? This is where the people that listen to, like, for example, Clutch Culture, right? Kind of that side of the community, they just like to sit around and drink a beer and talk shit. And like, hey, did you see what happened? Like, this is why you get all the automotive news side of things, because they're
yeah,
never gonna go buy. They're never gonna go buy like anything crazy, but they can go. They can talk shit with their friends about the new Revoluto or whatever, Or hey, did you see
yeah,
that cool Porsche last week? And then they can talk about it. Maybe they're in the garage doing some basic maintenance on the car, and they're just talking crap. But like
exactly.
that's really where like a big mass of the community is, and those are honestly I relate to those guys a lot more
Yeah, and that's also like that even just reflects our differences, right? Because like you are very much like a weekend and hang out, like maybe go to a show, like you'd maybe catch a show once a year,
Yeah.
right? Where like on the flip side, like I am a if I could, I would be at the track every weekend. Like that's just
If I
the
didn't have the
type of
family
person.
that I have, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but
But I
like
do have
for
a family, and I love them. You know.
yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not like, okay, well, I have a family, but I don't care, so I'll go be at
Right.
the track every weekend
Right.
anyways. And like there's a great reason why like I've limited a lot of the other aspects in my life, right? Up to this
Yeah.
point where it's like, yeah, I didn't make some of these concessions. I mean, I guess you could say of like buying a house to take care of or like having kids
No,
or,
it's a big one too.
like
House, right? Because you've seen how
because
much
like
time I spend on this damn place.
oh yeah, exactly. And like that, but like I've been eating up all my time like with businesses and like other
Hmm.
things like that, right? So like that's become kind of like a catch of my time. But seeing that, you know, people are kind of like just caught between like, where you are, I would say, or like more people like on that end and somewhere where like I would be, where it's like you kind of if you're coming into the scene, one actually kind of explore the depths a little bit, kind of figure out like where your niche is if you
Yeah.
want to stay. Otherwise, like I feel like a lot of people, and I think I can speak for a good majority of the car community here,
Yeah.
where I would say a lot of people are feeling very frustrated with the reactiveness of the car community. A lot of this comes from the fact of like, you know, takeovers, for instance, are a result of car spaces dying, right? Like people aren't
Yeah.
going to the track. Like
It's
tracks are
become
closing.
prohibitively
So
expensive
right,
to actually go enjoy your car.
exactly. And so like this is and I that you hear car enthusiasts all the time, like, oh, it's one of the most expensive hobbies. Like there's plenty of more expensive hobbies than cars. Cars can
Yeah.
get very expensive, but I promise, like you could spend way more money. You could spend a lot of money on a lot of silly shit if you look hard enough.
I'll give an example, right? And we'll try to make that one of the last things.
Mhm.
My daughter is doing soccer, and dance.
Yeah.
Cleats, because this is like for like a month or two, right?
Yeah.
Cleats, jersey, shin guards, because she's a grown girl, so this is all going to last one season.
Yep. You'll be buying it again next year.
Plus we had to get her dance outfit, we had to get her tights, her shoes. All of that combined is probably $250.
Right. Well, and
you can go to the track for $250. You can.
Yeah.
Buy a cheap. I'm just gonna say the M word. Buy a cheap Miata, right?
Well, and
you can go to the track, or you can go to an autocross. Go get a Jetta and go autocross it.
Yeah,
go do something.
Exactly. But like, on the flip side of that too, like you can get into an open track day, but like some of them where it might require some kind of licensing, like now that's another cost.
Yep.
You're gonna need to buy a helmet. You're gonna need to buy, other like safety as things. You have to be able to pass tech. So now you have to be up on your maintenance. And so yeah, like these things do get progressively more expensive.
If you want to go fast, but if you just want to go enjoy your car, you can do it cheaper without doing a takeover.
No, 100%. And I'm by no means defending.
I know you're not.
Like
I know you're not.
The takeover. I do feel like I do kind of feel bad in a way for the takeover crowd, because I do think there's plenty of people that I've talked to at this point who are like, yeah, actually I got into cars because I went to takeovers and I was doing it, and then like that's like that was their part of the funnel. That's where they slipped in at.
I will agree. I thought it was exclusively like just idiots that didn't actually like cars until some of the I think I know some of the people you might be talking about.
Yeah, and so like
you've met, they're like, oh no, actually, yeah, no, they're serious car enthusiasts now.
Yeah, 100%.
But their exposure to it was
through takeovers, and so like I think like looking at that, we need to look at the actual issue behind takeovers and the fact that like one in the attention span economy of current day, like people just want fast, cheap fun, and so like when you see videos of a takeover, right? Like it's crazy the whole time. It
doesn't get much faster and cheaper than takeovers.
No, it doesn't.
Considering most of those cars aren't owned by the people that
and especially like when you're looking for some kind of clout behind this, when you're looking for some kind of attention, like it's like, oh wow, like fucking like this looks insane when you're like
and cutting
showing the
up.
video. Right, exactly. And stuff like this is exactly why that's gotten popular. But
Yep.
the fact that tracks are getting like, there's some tracks that still to this day are like, oh no, we don't want our, the concrete fucked up, so we're not going to do drift events.
Yeah.
And so like they lock out an entire form of motorsport.
And then you're
from
surprised
that
when they
track.
go do it on the street. It's the same thing that happened back in the 90s and the 2000s with skaters.
Yep.
Right? Like, why were skaters tearing up, like, why were they tearing up
your
businesses and why were they tearing up, like, curbs? Well, because there was nowhere to go.
Yeah, because
And there's more now, but there's kind of less still. There's not enough.
Well, and if you noticed, like, especially like in my area, right? When I was in high school, there was like 2 or 3 like actual like skate parks, and then there was like an indoor one that was like the big thing that everybody like knew
The
about.
closest we had was an hour away,
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got ran off many times.
Oh,
from
for
places.
sure. And like, but now there's more skate parks in a 20 square mile radius than like, I mean, you got like 15 parks in like a pretty small area now. And so like, guess what? You don't see people riding, you don't see people streeting their bike anymore. You don't see people skating. Like, I rarely come across some dude just like skateboarding, unless I just like drive by the skate park and I'm like, oh, people are still skating.
And if
so,
they
like,
are, they're not getting in fights with security. They're not getting in fights with people. They're not screwing up people's lives, like, because they're not forced to just use spaces that aren't for them.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think that's your point about the takeovers is like,
100%.
like, yes, they're still idiots. Yes, they're still doing stuff that's bad, but where are they going to go?
Yeah. And I think without giving them a channel to the proper sources of where they should go and expecting them to do something about it and then thinking like, wow, I can't believe we've gotten here is just kind of ludicrous, really.
Yeah.
I think like it's expecting more from something that has no alternatives or little alternatives is dumb. And I think that, if you're going to bitch about it, actually, maybe go to your city boards when they're talking about closing down a track for noise violation and, be like, no, like we this is an important spot. Like, this business needs to be here. We need things like this so that way, people can, try and actually do stuff that is like, if you don't like the drag strip that is 2 miles from your house because it's noisy on Saturdays, then you're really not going to like the people speeding down your streets when your kids are playing in the front yard because they have nowhere else to go. And they're going to fuck around.
It's going to happen. Here's the thing. Teenagers and young adults are going to do stupid stuff.
100%.
And so, like, to wrap it all up, because we're at 57 minutes, so we got to move on to the next episode. But to wrap this all up, I do not like the car community for the most part. You don't like a lot of the car community for the most part. And a lot of what it boils down into is idiots are not being pushed out. But also, we're not creating spaces for these idiots to learn and for them to express and to kind of grow. And we're definitely, like, with the social media, trying to, like, people are forced to appeal to too broad of an audience, meaning you are getting too many people who are not into cars.
Too many people keep coming into the funnel, and not enough people are either being converted or pushed back.
Yes.
And it's created a weird imbalance in which cars, like, in the community as we remember it, and the community as we see it, and the reason why everybody is saying, like, oh, it's changed, it's not the same, is because it has, and it hasn't had the ability to adjust. It's not regulated anymore like it once was.
No.
And so that is the end of us talking about how, individuals have interacted with car culture.
And if you want a better car community, you could just come join us, because if you suck, we're going to kick you out. And if you're cool, we'll let you stay. And I'm sure we'll do something more with that later when we actually have time, energy.
Yeah,
and I'm not
we've
sick,
discussed some of that, and
there's some stuff we want to do. So
we'll pitch that when we're actually there. But for the most part, we're trying to foster a decent community here. And if you are new, we want you to learn, we want you to grow. So if you're actually open to that, and you're actually open to learning and understanding and bettering yourself in this space,
please come
then You are
stay,
more than welcome here.
interact. And if I'm mean to you, it's probably because you said something stupid. So with that, this has been another episode of What's Our Podcast called Zero Camber. Yeah.
3 weeks that he's forgot.
I've already forgotten. Yeah. It's not as if I wasn't editing videos that whole time.
All right.